Hey guys, this is Sean McGarry coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, home of the Music Salon, where great things happen. I got a fun little lesson today. I want to talk about major thirds, a little bit of harmony, and really break it down, how to make some beautiful, cool sounding music with a very little knowledge. So I'm going to assume that nobody knows what a third is if you're watching this. I'm just going to kind of talk to somebody that's never talked about this before. Okay, so that's just a term for a harmony, and a lot of people don't even know what a harmony is. So a harmony is like, and we're in a key of E, so I'm going to stick to the key of E today. So if you have like an E major scale, you have your right, your do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay, so what happens is when you play, let's just start with the root. So if I take the root and I go up 3 notes, 1, 2, 3. Well, look at that. That's called a major third because I'm up 3 notes from that. Now, there's a bunch of different intervals, but you can do fourths, you can do fifths, sixths, sevenths. There's your octave. See, so there's lots of cool little things to take away from this. And I'll talk about it real quick. So, like again, here's that's your third. That's probably the most commonly used harmony in guitar and vocals. And the obvious example would be if you played or heard Brown Eyed Girl, right? Everybody knows that song and has heard that riff. So I like to just use that as an example because everybody has heard that riff. But there's so much more you can do with it. And this is genreless. I mean, this is used in every form of music, these little harmonies. So it's uber important you learn this stuff. But again, you can kind of break it down by when you look at a scale and in different positions. Like again, if I'm here, what happens is then you harmonize the whole scale, or you play the whole scale with harmonies, okay? So I'm going to give you a nice example here. Let's say we go up to our open position cowboy chord, E major right there. The root is right here, 2nd fret D. That's your E note. So if you just go on one string and we go all the way up the scale with that do, re, mi, or the, just the major scale. So that's kind of step one. You just want to find those notes of the scale and identify it just going up. You can even loop a chord and just play. Just kind of get used to that pattern. And here's what's really cool. You have 2 shapes to do these harmonies. It's real easy. So when you're playing on these strings right here, you have 2 shapes to memorize, okay? And this is shape 1. Look at this. You're already playing. And by the way, the information is already inside that chord. So I'm going to take a step back even further. If I play this E major chord, well, if I just play the D and G string, E and G sharp, right? That's my third. If I look at the scale right there, E, G sharp. There it is inside that chord. So again, the information is already there. So if I just took that finger off and went like this, but I probably wouldn't do that because I want to use my middle finger. It makes it a little bit more easy to play. So now I use my middle finger when the harmony is 1 fret away from each other. Okay, so again, when the notes are 1 fret away from each other, use these 2 fingers. Okay, so position 1. Here's my root note E. And by the way, you can look at this. Like, it's kind of cool to understand how these work by physically seeing them to examine the fretboard. So I want to know, well, why is this a third? Well, look, do, re, mi, go up the scale. That's your third. Look at that. And this is the sound of music. And I always like to talk about my past experiences because I think a lot of people can relate. I feel like a whole generation of guitar players were sort of taught wrong, including myself. And that's why I try and share this knowledge on this channel with other people, not to make the same mistakes that I still see being made today all over. And I'm guilty of it too. I taught the way that I was taught for years, and the way I was taught was, you learn that minor pentatonic scale, and that's not wrong, okay? Because let me back up even further. I'm always backing up, right? But when I grew up in the rock and roll age, from Led Zeppelin to the metal to whatever, a lot of stuff was in minor keys and E minor and A minor. So you would play a lot of the rock stuff with just the minor pentatonic, and then you learn, okay, well, I can play it over some major progressions, or I can play it over a blues, and that's a good place to learn because it's easy and it works over everything. But really, nobody ever taught me about the major scale. I think a lot of people just gloss over that, and I know a lot of good players out there that even say, like, they've been playing for years, like, man, I never really studied the major scale. I get stuck playing in minor. So this is why it's so important to see these things. So when I'm playing this little third here, right, I want to be able to physically see do, re, mi. Otherwise, you're just memorizing things, and you just have to hope your fingers land on the right place. But when you map these out, and again, there's no shortcuts. There's little secrets that we can show you, but you got to put the legwork into it. So that was the first little harmony. Now, if I go up to the second note, if I go up 3 notes from here, look, do, re, mi. Go up to the second note. Right? I'm going up 3 notes from that second note. So think about that. Every time you go up to the next position, you're just going up 3 notes from where you just started. So anyway, you can see that harmony. And look at that. 2nd fret G, 4th fret D. That's the second shape. So shape 1 or position 1 would be right there, 2nd fret and 1st fret. Shape 2 or position 2 would be. And let me take out the open strings for a bit, and I'll get back to that in a minute. So the harmony would just be these 2 notes. Okay, now I'll go up to the 4th fret, or the 3rd note of the scale, which would be 4th and 6th fret. So now I'm just going to keep going. Okay, you can figure out what I'm doing here. I'm going up the scale. I'm adding either shape A or shape B, and it takes a bit of practice, and I'll show you a good way to practice that, a couple ideas. So anyway, here we go all the way up the scale with the harmonized thirds. Right? There's my octave all the way up. So there is a pattern to it if you kind of look at it. And you got to know that the whole step, half step thing with the scale. But if you just look at it, okay, position 1, position 2. Well, look at that. Once I get past position 1, the next 2 are the same shape, right? The whole step fingering. So that's the same. These next 2 are the same. Then these last 2 are the same. And I always tell my students, try and do these in like groups of 3s. Okay, so start, don't wander around the whole fretboard unless you're really confident about it. Just start, Then go up to the next position. Go up here. Start working your way down. So why is this important? Why do we need it? Well, harmony is, by the way, if you're a vocalist, one person singing that line, one singing that line. So you can use that to figure out harmonies if you're a vocalist. But harmony is really what makes music magical, in my opinion. When you start adding these beautiful sounds of harmony, and you can use them for lead, for rhythm. And, I'm going to give you maybe one or 2 examples today of how you can use this. And I did that in my little intro thing. And it's such an easy thing, and I love playing this because it's beautiful sounding and it's easy. Now I specifically chose the key of E because we can use these open strings. So now if I take this little, well, look, I can go, and suddenly that's got a whole vibe, right? So you can always throw those open strings in, or you don't have to. You can use it with just like a over like a chord. Like if something's playing like E to C sharp minor or something, you can use the back. Like I don't have my loop set up, but like just picture like these little riffs. Basically, you're just playing riffs and you're adding the third. And that's what gives it that harmony sound. So that's one idea. And I'll show you again what I was doing here. Let's just start up here. I'll start way up at the octave up here. So 13th fret G, 14th fret D. There's my octave of an E chord. So there's my information. I can lift the middle finger off. And I'd like to reposition my middle finger, or my third finger off, middle finger back on, to make it easier for the voicing. So I'm just doing open E. Make up anything you want, man. I'm just showing you something real simple here. Try different picking patterns, but I'm just doing real simple, real straight. Maybe mix it up right here. Leave out the low E, maybe just the harmony. Right, so that's the sound. I mean, that's it. So you can do a lot with that. And it just reminds me of, I just saw Ozzy inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which I think was awesome. And I think Randy Rhoads was already in there. So, what can you say about that, right? Nothing to say. But, the song "Mom, I'm Coming Home," and I think it's like see, or something like that, right? So it's the same thing though. It's just using those open strings. So that's even more simple. It's just one note. So you can find these really, to me, sophisticated sounding riffs that are real simple, right? They're based upon simple and basic ideas. Look, that's just one note. That's an E note. E note, followed by open strings. All those notes are in the scale. You can go in so many different directions. I'm going to try and keep this contained to this example today, but I will definitely expand upon this because I really like this kind of stuff. And I'll give you a couple more examples. Let's say I'm playing on a lower chord. I started off showing you today early. So here's one, another really common, easy way to use this. So here's you can think of the major chord or just even a power chord. Look at that. It's an E major. Well, there's your third. It's always take your root. And I talked about this a couple lessons ago. Maybe it was last lesson. I can't keep up, but I just talked about this. Always locate that major third. It's easy. Off the E and the A string, it's always one fret back, one string over. So if I'm playing this, there's your third always. So if I got I don't have the right sound for some of the stuff, but like if I'm playing more of a rock thing, you can kind of chunk it out, or even for any style, I guess. I'm just thinking more of a rock riff for whatever reason, but like, Well, look, I'm doing all that same stuff I did, just on lower strings now, another string set, A and D, but it's the same shapes, look. Oh, sorry. If I'm right here, look at that. There's your third here. Look, if I'm playing the same chord, those harmonies are right inside of that bar chord. Look at this. There's my E major. Well, I'm just fretting part of that chord, 9 to 9. 8 and 9. So you got these cool little things right inside the chords. So, you know, a lot of fun with that stuff. Now, one more I did want to show you. This was probably going to be a whole nother lesson here at some point in time. But let's say we look at the cage system here, and we look at our C-shaped E up here, right? Everybody got that? I forgot to remind everybody to grab their guitars today, but hopefully you've grabbed your guitar by now and you're playing along. But again, look at that. I'm playing 7, 6, 4, 5, 4. Well, inside there, I've got all this harmony. Look at this. If I play each 2 strings, look at this. There's a harmony. There's a harmony, so. But what if I break that down? So I've stripped away the chord. I'm going to play the same 2 notes, but more as like a harmony, like a single harmony. That's a great exercise. You're really into the guts of that chord there, that cage system chord, you know. So you're really, you know, you can do little single note lines. Right, it's just, you know. Oops, where am I going here? C-sharp minor. And I always like to resolve with like maybe the minor 6. So in this case, I was hitting that C-sharp minor for a reason. So like if I'm up here D, like here's my thirds. Resolve to your minor 6. Kind of going off in a different topic or direction, but you know, the point is to make music with these things because it's such a fun little not a novel idea, but just an easy idea to use thirds. You know, then we can get into fourths and fifths and stuff like that, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, thirds are probably the most common harmony you're going to hear in modern music, in any music, from classical to jazz to whatever. So I wanted to share this little idea with you guys, and you know, just try and make some music with those little open position. Right? Triads. Or not triads. See, I can't even stop saying triads. Triads. It's always triads. Harmonies. It's just music, man. At the end of the day, this is all just music. You know, I guess we got to label it, but it's just knowing the fretboard. It's knowing your options. You know, it's knowing all these little things. So I really appreciate you guys watching. I say it every lesson, but I truly feel blessed that I'm getting so many great comments all across the country and the world, and some really nice people I'm meeting, and people are, by the way, I've got a link in the description up top of my page for the for Zoom lessons, the tip jar, all that stuff. I appreciate the tips. I know I've been talking about it, but my Patreon page is coming. You know, everything's so time consuming, man. I teach, you know, I own my own business, the music salon in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm not complaining, but you know, I have 13 teachers. I teach 60, 70 students a week, managing people, payroll, doing these things. So there's only so many hours in a day. I've even taken a step back from playing gigs for a while to try and get caught up on this because I love teaching. This is really my passion, man, is sharing this knowledge. A lifetime of ups and downs and mistakes and learning what to do and not to do. And I think it's our obligation to share the stuff, man, because you can't take it with you. And I'm by no means the best guitar player in the world. You know, click the next video down, you'll find somebody better than me. But it's not about being the best. It's to be able to communicate with somebody, and it's to be able to, you know, show somebody some useful stuff, and hopefully connect with people one-on-one. So that's the purpose of my channel, not to get too heady here. And again, yeah, hit that subscribe button, all these things. And I totally got lost talking about myself here, explaining my situation. But oh yeah, like the Patreon page, and I've got some instructional videos coming. But I appreciate your patience. I appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you next video. Rock on.